Hi, I'm Danny DeLong, State Volunteer Lead for AARP Nebraska's Veterans and Military Families Program. November is National Veterans and Military Families Month, and it's an opportunity for AARP Nebraska to honor the service and sacrifice of our 31,000 AARP Nebraska members who are veterans, their families, and the approximately 130,000 Nebraska veterans and their families. During the month of November, we are interviewing key professionals who will share with us resources which are available to veterans and their military families. We're hosting this 4-part series on veterans resources from our Facebook page on AARP Nebraska. You can catch us live on Wednesdays at 11 a.m. Central, or tune in anytime to watch the recorded interviews. We've already recorded educational benefits and services for veterans and military at Bellevue University. We recorded that on the 4th of November. Last week, we recorded the VA's whole health care program available through the Lincoln and Omaha facilities and the other facilities in Western Iowa and in Nebraska. Today, we're going to visit with Tracy Krogan, who is the coordinator of the Caregiver program through the VA department in Omaha. And at the end of the month, on November 25th, we'll visit with John Hilgert, director of the Nebraska Department of Veterans Affairs. Our speakers will be providing information about veterans benefits that are important to Nebraska veterans and their families. When you consider applying for any of these services, we recommend you do your own research by contacting your county veterans service officer, the veterans representative at any educational institution if you're looking for educational services, or a representative of the Veterans Administration. Today's session will focus on the VA's Caregivers Support program, which is available to Nebraska veterans. Tracy Krogan is the Caregiver Support Coordinator for the VA's Nebraska Western Iowa healthcare system, and she will review the program and its contribution to improved health for our veterans. Very important program, and welcome, Tracy. Please tell us a little bit about your VA experience.
Thank you, Danny. I've been with the VA for 7 years now. I'm a licensed independent clinical social worker. I've worked in the inpatient floors, the outpatient clinics, but most of my time at the VA has been in the caregiver program. I have outside caregiver experience myself as a profession and in personal life. So I really enjoy working with caregivers and can have great experience with that. So I do have a presentation that I'd like to share with you guys today. And I'll go over that with you guys with the program services, okay?
That'd be great. Thank you, Tracy.
All right, here we go. So you can go to the next slide. The VA Caregiver Support Program. We have, it's our mission to promote the health and well-being of family caregivers who care for our nation's veterans through education, resources, supportive services, and service excellence. On this slide, you can kind of see that we have kind of the program of general support services has a bunch of different information, which I'll go over. And the program of comprehensive assistance is just a piece of the caregiver program as a whole. And I'm going to get into both of those with you guys. But the VA has a lot of programs to help support caregivers, as you can see, and I will go over those with you. So next slide. Okay, so the first program I'm going to talk about, we call it the Pcafc. It's the Program of Comprehensive Assistance for Family Caregivers. It offers enhanced clinical support for caregivers of eligible veterans. As a lot of you heard, is the program did expand. It used to be for post 9/11 veterans only. The expansion is going in 2 phases. The first one, as of October 1st of this year, we have expanded to veterans who were injured before May 7th, 1975, and then 2 years, so about October 2022. It'll be all eras because it'll fill in that gap from May 8th, 1975 to September 10th, 2001. Next slide. So to be eligible for the program, they have to have served in the areas that I just listed. They have to be at least 70% service connected. Require the assistance of a family caregiver to live safely in the home setting for at least 6 months' time. Require personal care services to perform 1 or more activities of daily living, and those are things such as like eating, bathing, grooming, dressing, transferring, or they require supervision and protection based on symptoms of like a functional impairment. Next slide. So enhanced Pcafc services for eligible caregivers may include wellness contacts, and those are 3 times a year. One of those has to be face-to-face in the home, but we have other modalities such as like telehealth or telephone that we can, or coming into the VA and meeting with you face-to-face that way. There's a financial stipend that will go to caregivers, access to CHAMP VA health insurance if the caregiver doesn't have health insurance, mental health counseling at the VA, caregiver training, enhanced respite care, and I'm going to go into a little bit more about respite care, and then travel and per diem compensation for traveling to veterans medical appointments, financial planning services, and legal services as it relates to caregiving. Those 2 are new, effective October 1 of this year. Next slide. So the program of general supportive services, they provide services to caregivers of all eras. So a general caregiver is defined as a person who provides personal care services to a veteran who either needs assistance with 1 or more activities of daily living or needs supervision or protection based on basically the same criteria as before, except that there's no level of service connection that is required. And there's you just have to be a caregiver of a veteran who needs supervision, protection, or instruction, or assistance with 1 activity of daily living. Next slide. So the VA is committed to providing services to caregivers. These services include, but are not limited to, resource and referral. So our program can help assisting in navigating the VA services, helping with education, training, and support. We have various programs, which I'm going to explain here in a little bit, and counseling. So if you're part of the Pcafc, there is mental health counseling. But if you're not a part of that program, but you provide care for a veteran, and it relates to the veteran's treatment plan, then you can receive some counseling at the VA. So next slide. So in-home care, the VA provides skilled nursing, home health aid, we have home-based primary care. There's, so here at our VA, we have like the skilled nursing. So you could have like home, like a nurse come in to help with some skilled nursing, like wound care, medication setup, that kind of thing, physical therapy, occupational therapy, home health aid. We do have homemaker services where a home health aide can assist with bathing or doing some light homemaker services. And then we have home-based primary care. And that's like primary care, but in your home. So there's a provider, a social worker, a psychologist, a nurse, an OT we have here in Nebraska's team that will come into the home and provide that primary care instead of the veteran coming into the VA. Now, respite care at our VA, we have up to 30 visits a year that can be authorized. And that can be either a VA contract nursing home or in-home respite care. So those who are unfamiliar with respite, that is basically providing a break to the caregiver so that you can take some time for yourself or do other errands or, go out of town, that kind of thing. And then the veteran can receive care from somebody else. So, like I said, we have up to 30 visits a year. And if you're doing the in-home option, then it's 1 to 6 hours a visit. And then if you do like the contract nursing home or we call it the CLC, which is the community living center, and that we have one in Grand Island, then you could go to that facility as well. And that's up to 30 days a year. And that's together between the in-home and the facility. Now, the Pcafc that I was referring to earlier, that program, there is enhanced respite care, and that is unlimited within reason. So caregivers in that program are not limited to these 30 days. And then we also have adult day care services. We provide equipment and supplies. There's mobility aids, home modification grants, communication devices, cognitive prosthetics, incontinence supplies. A lot of people don't know that the VA does provide like pads, depends, gloves, wipes, that kind of thing, like walkers, wheelchairs, hearing aids. Trying to think, we have a VIST coordinator that provides adaptive equipment for low vision veterans, and there's like the Life Alert, Guardian Alert. The VA does provide that as well. And then the home modification grants. There's several different options that we encourage that if someone wants to look into that, then our prosthetics department helps take care of that. Next slide. So some of the other supports that are specific to our program that we provide on a national basis is one of them is Building Better Caregivers. This is a 6 weeks online interactive workshop for any caregiver of a veteran. The workshop assists with caregivers with enhancing communication, decision making, managing caregiver fatigue and caregiver stress, learning ways to cope with different caregiver issues. And then engaging in shared experiences with support, because you attend the class with other caregivers. It's all online. You log in at your convenience, and there's several modules that you work through with other caregivers. Next slide. We have a national caregiver support line, and the VA caregiver support line responds to calls from caregivers, veterans, and community agencies just seeking information about VA caregiver services. The hours are Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. And they just expanded some hours on Saturday from 7 a.m. to 4. The caregiver support line has social workers who answer the calls, and they link. Sometimes this caregiver line is the only bit of information that some caregivers know, and so they have no idea there's a whole program at each local medical facility, and then so the caregiver support line will link them to us, and so we know to contact them. They also offer supportive counseling when needed. Sometimes caregivers call in crisis or just very stressful times, and they can call that number and speak to someone, and that can kind of help provide them with that support. Next slide. So the caregiver support line, which is we call it the CSL, they also have telephone education calls. So social workers at the VA's caregiver at the CSL, they facilitate psychoeducational care for the caregiver groups. And it's on a toll-free teleconference line. So there's 12 unique topics that are offered each year. Some of them that we've had is like setting boundaries, asking for help, handling the holidays, managing anger. They have a lot of good topics, and there's one topic each month. And each topic is offered 3 times throughout the month. There's a morning, an afternoon, and an evening times, and different dates or different days. So it tries to accommodate all schedules. The calls are accessed through a 1-800 number. And then there's additional caregiver-led calls throughout the year, and they provide some peer support experiences, and those calls are always very well received. So next slide. We also have a peer support mentoring program. So that program links caregivers of veterans in a mentor-mentee relationship to provide peer support and guidance. So experienced caregivers who are trained to serve as mentors are matched with less experienced caregivers, and the mentors provide personalized guidance based on experience and knowledge, and they're trying to help alleviate isolation. As we all know, this is a time where a lot of people feel isolated, so it's nice to have that connection. Caregivers of all eras are eligible to participate, and they can participate both as a mentee or as a mentor. Next slide. We have Reach VA and telephone support. So resources for enhancing all caregivers' health we call it Reach VA. It's an evidence-based program providing interventional support to caregivers. So Reach is delivered in 4 1-hour core sessions with the option of additional sessions if needed. Both they can be provided in person or a telephone or telehealth. The telephone support's delivered in a 6 1-hour core group session with the option of additional sessions as needed, just depending on the situation. Supports skill building through problem solving, stress reduction, and positive thinking and mood management. We have specialized curricula that's available to caregivers of veterans. They have an ALS, a dementia, MS, PTSD, spinal cord injury, and they also have one of just all eras. So just like a general, you don't fit to one of those categories, but you're still providing cares. There's that curricula as well. So the VA's Memphis Caregiver Center and the VA Office of Rural Health have partnered to provide this service to caregivers. And we have staff trained locally and all over the U.S. that help support this program. Next slide. And we also have Annie, Caregiver Tech Support. There is an Annie that's geared towards veterans, and it's like appointment reminders and provides them with other supports with managing their care. But this Annie is for support for caregivers. It's a text messaging service that promotes self-care for caregivers of veterans enrolled in the VA. And they send stress management tips via text message 3 times a week. The messages may be educational, motivational, to help manage stress, and you can pause or stop the service at any time. Next slide. So our website, it links caregivers to helpful tools, information, resources, and stories of both veterans and caregivers. It includes information about the caregiver program. As I mentioned earlier, our program has expanded this year, and so there's a lot of good information on there. Caregiving tips by diagnosis. I believe there's stroke, cancer, PTSD, ALS, a bunch of different diagnoses, ways to connect with other caregivers, tips and tools on caregivers, such as managing medication or talking to medical providers, publications and resources by different topics, directory of VA Caregiver Support Coordinators by state, access to the application for the Pcafc, because you now can apply online to that program. Next slide. And that's the website right there. So www.caregiver.va.gov. Next slide. So locally, here at Nebraska Western Iowa Healthcare System is the area that I help cover. The fourth Wednesday of every month, we have from 1 to 2. We started a face-to-face support group that's now on pause due to COVID, but the goal was have an opportunity for caregivers to talk and share and support face-to-face. But next slide. But since COVID, we developed a virtual caregiver support group, and that's the third Wednesday of every month from 2 to 3 p.m. Next slide. And then, of course, one of the last ways that we support caregivers is National Family Caregivers Month, which is November. So happy Caregivers Month. Locally, we organized special events. We couldn't host anything face-to-face this year, but we have in the past. We try to go out to like Omaha, Lincoln, and Grand Island, our main VAs, and invite caregivers to different events. This year we did it virtually. We partnered with Whole Health on a couple topics. Some movement was the first event we did, and we had yoga and Tai Chi or Qigong that the caregivers were able to do virtually. And last week we partnered with Midwest Arts for Vets, and we did an art event where we sent supplies to caregivers, and we had a live event where we the artist helped teach a class on how to do a canvas painting. And then this week we have nutrition, mood and food that we have a nutritionist through the Whole Health that's going to talk about how different foods and nutrition can affect mood and caregiving and that kind of thing. So that's exciting for us. We've done other things and we would like to do more. So we're always building and working on improving. And we just want to say thank you because it is Caregivers Month. Next slide. Questions. That's the National Caregiver Support line that I referenced earlier. I'll leave it on the screen for a bit so you guys can write it down. And again, our website. Next slide. And this is the last slide. So that's my information. I'm the Caregiver Support Coordinator. We also have Lori Jones. She's the General Caregiver Support Coordinator. She'd be happy to assist you as well. Our main number that you can get a hold of us or other members of our team is 402-995-4285. And we have a fax number in case you have an application, you already are aware of the program and just don't know how to get us the application. Our fax number is 402-995-3108. And that is the end of the presentation.
Tracy, thank you for what a wonderful outline you've given us of your program. I'm stunned. I had no idea that we had a caregiver program that well developed in our area. Do you have any estimate as to the number of caregivers that are currently working, even just a rough estimate through the Western Iowa, Nebraska VA program, through your program?
As far as working that we work with or that are still employed and caring for a veteran?
I'll take both.
I don't have a number for those who are currently working. With the old, because the Program of Comprehensive Assistance, the PCAFC, used to just be post 9/11. We have 135 of those currently on the program. But since expansion, when we were preparing for expansion, the program office pulled some numbers of who would be eligible just for this first phase. And there was about 5,000 veterans in our Nebraska, Western Iowa who meet, like that 70% and live in our area. And so we anticipate that there's a lot of caregivers out there caring for those veterans who could qualify for the program. So we very much would like to get the word out and welcome applications for that program.
So that's the PCAFC program. I think I have those letters correct.
Yeah.
And the primary requirements are times of service and at least a 70% service-connected disability, right?
Yep, that's correct.
And we have roughly 5,000 veterans who could be eligible for caregiving under that service, right?
Right. That would be about Vietnam and prior.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was pleased when the Vietnam extension came out. I know there was kind of a loud cheer that went up, like finally,
yes,
finally, that would be available for Vietnam era veterans who were disabled as a result of their service during that time. What a wonderful outline you've given us. Now, I did hear you say something that you do use, and you showed that you're using, I don't know if I want to call it telehealth, video technology to be in touch with your caregivers, to deliver training to your caregivers. I'm guessing you also use what the VA calls telehealth technology to communicate with disabled veterans who are receiving the care. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. So the VA has their own telehealth department, and they're very busy because after the pandemic, we didn't want to halt care, and so we had to get creative with how are we still going to see physically, well, not physically, but see the veterans without being with them face to face, and I shouldn't say face to face, but in person. So
Right.
The veterans can utilize telehealth for their appointments. The caregivers can utilize telehealth, or we call it VVC. It's VA Video Connect. And so when we do different assessments with the caregivers, we can use that. We use it for our wellness contacts. It's very popular right now with our program, just because we used to always do home visits, but then after the pandemic, we feel it's important to still lay eyes on them and see how they're doing, and so that they can see us and feel connected to us. So we have been using the VVC, or the telehealth, with those visits and talking to caregivers.
I've had 3 appointments through that, and after I learned that I could only use really Chrome as the browser, because I tried to use Firefox and that didn't work. But Chrome is dead on. I've had 3 wonderful telehealth appointments myself. So for my service, yeah, I like it, and it's a easy service to use. You dial in to a number that'll get you to someone who will walk you through it and get you all set up for your appointment in advance. Great service. Thank you for that.
Yes, and thank you for mentioning how easy it is, because it is very easy. I know people get intimidated by it, but it's very easy to use.
It totally is. The VA has just done nothing but make it so simple to have your appointments by video technology. It's great, and I'm glad you guys are able to use it in the caregiver program too. I see your number is at the bottom of the screen, 402-995-4285. So one more question, and we'll talk about access. Then we'll talk about access for a moment, and then I think we're almost done here. So, one quick question that I wanted to ask you is: does the VA provide assistance in preparing advanced directives?
Yes. So the most probably, I don't want to say popular way, but the more frequently how those are completed is probably in the outpatient clinics. So every outpatient clinic has an assigned PACT social worker, and that social worker would be more than happy to help the veteran and caregiver complete that document. We like to use the VA document. It should be recognized outside of the VA. We do accept advanced directives that were prepared outside of the VA. We just like to have one, a copy of it so we can have it on file. But our VA advanced directive has a part for the healthcare power of attorney, and then a secondary, and then there's a living will portion, which we'll discuss if, the veteran would or would not want to receive life-sustaining treatment. Right. So we are more than capable and more than happy to fill those out with veterans. And then we have 2 witnesses on the spot, witness it, and then we send a copy to scanning so it's in the record, and then prepare the veteran and caregiver with additional copies, as many as that they would like. The other setting is that it's probably been done frequently is on inpatient, but it doesn't have to be completed in one of those 2 places. I've educated a lot of caregivers on advanced directives, and I'm very happy to send them the forms. And I always include an instruction sheet that says, has like definitions of what different things mean, and just how they can get it completed and who to contact and things like that. So yeah, we'd be happy to assist with that.
That's a wonderful service. I've taken advantage of it. I have VA advanced directives in my VA file, and it's also in my private physician's file that I see occasionally, and at the hospital in the community where I live, I have it on file there. So, so what a wonderful service that is, and we're so thankful the VA is here, that it's a viable service, that we have beautiful facilities. Your facility in Omaha is almost finished, isn't it?
It is finished for the most part. Well, we call it the ACC, the Ambulatory Care Clinic is finished. They're still moving some things around, like the eye clinic is now moving in there, and so they're still working on getting its space figured out and getting it nicely running and everything. We are going to have some. The Fisher House is completed as well, and then they are going to do, I think, a mental health building and possibly like a physical therapy, outpatient surgery type building that is not completed, but is in the works. So that's
on the Omaha campus.
Yes.
Campus, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I saw the photo of the Fisher building the other day, and I went, "Oh, wow, that's nice." I know on the Lincoln campus, the outpatient care is well underway. A beautiful facility on the northwest of the Lincoln VA campus.
Yes.
Sorry, you were going to say something about.
Oh no, that's okay. I was thinking, I think North Platte just got, I think, renovated, or they got a new building, or Norfolk, but they're kind of doing, they're upgrading, so that's nice.
Yeah, well, and there are more veterans right now, unfortunately, in the sense of our nation's policy. But that, one other question I think I have, and then I think we're at the end. I just want to go over accessing the services. There are, if a veteran didn't know, if a veteran couldn't remember, or a caregiver, a family member didn't know or couldn't remember some of the critical parts of your presentation today, what's the simplest way to let the VA know that a family may need caregiver services?
That's a great question. So when you're at your local VA or you're at the county, veteran service office, or, it's especially one of those two places, you can say, how can I get a hold of caregiver support? I've been trying to make my rounds and present this information to internal and external, stakeholders, so that way everybody has the information, everybody's familiar with it. So if you say, how can I talk to caregiver support? They will look up the number and probably provide you with that main line that was that I mentioned earlier, the 402-995-4285, or they will try to transfer the call to us. There is also, if you're at the VA, we have a caregiver support consult. So if they're talking with the veteran and caregiver and kind of noticing, maybe there's some caregiver stress, or they feel like there's some services they could benefit from, they'll put in a consult. So the social workers, the PACT RNs, the providers are really good at putting in those consults. So I would just ask for caregiver support. The Veteran Service Office, I've been in contact with some of them and answering all their questions and trying to make it out to talk to them as well. But if you mention caregiver support, more than likely they will look me up and find my information and connect you with me. Another great way is the caregiver support line that was on there is, if you don't know where to start, call that number. That number will get you connected to a local caregiver support coordinator.
402-995-4285. And that will come right into not your office, but into a person who handles the administrative support for the caregiver program then.
That's correct. We have a staff member in Grand Island. There are 4 or 5 of us here, and we are hiring more staff. So we are always growing, and that main number is just the best number to use, because it'll connect it to all of us. Whoever is available to first serve the veteran and caregiver will take that call.
Thank you so very much, Tracy, for taking the time today to talk to us about this very valuable program. We have members that we know are using this program, and probably more members that will use the program, AARP members. I also want to thank you for your service in the VA. The VA is a form of service to us, and we thank you for the time that you've worked there and the work that you've done in organizing the caregiver program. And thanks again for that great explanation of the caregiver support program and how veterans can access and participate in that program. We appreciate all of that information.
And thank you, Danny, and AARP Nebraska for the opportunity to share one of the VA's most important health services available to our veterans.
Thank you again, Tracy. And I want to thank all of our viewers out there for watching today's session. If you enjoyed today's session, please like this post and share it on your page to let others know what you learned. Remember, you can see the session live. We will be showing it on this coming Wednesday, the 18th, and it will also be available in recorded form so that you can go back through it. Thanks again, everyone. We appreciate your time. Tracy, we'll see you on the road somewhere.
Sounds good. Thank you.